Hello everybody, welcome to another tutorial. This one is our sea shanties. The reference photo came from Pixabay, and you can go there and just look it up, and they have beautiful photos that they share with people to use for art. It's a great site, and they're all royalty free, and you're able to use them to paint as a paint reference. Okay, well, let's get started. We're going to move that out of the way. And before we start, I have some Mac tack here that I usually use to put on my table. This is just the end piece. I just peel it off, stick it on the table. It makes a great protection for your table. It comes right off. It's from the dollar store. You can use it as a palette. It's great. Just a little tip there. And let me get started here. We're just going to start off with painting the sky. My lighting's not great today. I apologize. It's raining and it's kind of yucky out. And it's just not a great day for videoing, I guess. Let me just get this in the... Hopefully you can see, and that's not too dark. We're just going to put our reference page on. I'm just going to line it up with the right lower corner, just so that I can get a line for where I'm going to put my horizon and my water. And that's all I need at this time. And you can just use a handy square ruler, which you can get just about any art supply store. And it just gives you a straight line. They're handy. Love them. Best thing since sliced bread. At least you know you've got a straight line. It's been squared and it's not crooked. Okay, so we're just going to get started here, and I clean my brush out. It's a little dirty. And just one moment while I get my palette where I can reach it. One moment. Okay, we're just going to take and do our sky, and we're going to use blue and white. I have just a cerulean blue, golden acrylic. Any blue will do. You can use toll painting blue. I'm using toll painting white because I'm out of white professional acrylics, but it doesn't matter what you use. It all works. I'm going to start with just a damp brush. Just dip it in the water and tap it off a bit. And we're going to start with the sky. I'm going to just start dark on the top. As you can see, you're going to see a bit of white through it. It's just the first coat. It takes a bit to get good coverage. And then we're going to take some blue and grab a little white just to make it a second shade, so it's a little bit lighter. And you can just go back and forth just so that you get an even, smooth coverage with no ridges. And then I'm going to grab some more white so that I get that medium sky. And the more you rub back and forth and press a little firmer, you'll get a better transition line. It will blend in better. So we're going for a lighter on the bottom. And this sky may look a little bit different than the original sky or in the next video, because I lost the video of the beginning. Somehow I taped over it. One of these days I'm going to get good at this, and it'll be a much smoother transition. So I'm just going along that line, And I'm going to just wash my brush and give this a dry. I'll be right. Okay, we're back. I am going to add the water. So first I'm going to use a piece of tape so I can straighten out, find my tape here, straighten out my horizon line. And I'm just going to add it up a little bit into the sky and just roughly get it as straight as you can. And then I'm going to take my brush here and take out the excess water. It's still kind of dirty. I'm going to take some blue, and I don't have much white there. I'll have to add some more white. Add some more white. Some white to it. And I'm going to add a little bit of this teal green, just so that it's different from the sky, but still has the sky colors in it, so it makes it harmonious and it goes together good. Okay, so we're just going to paint the water, and make sure you get up against that paint line, and hopefully it doesn't bleed through. And get a little more paint. And I'm going to try to turn here so you can see. I'm going to just try to go along that edge to get a nice straight line. And again, you're going to add water splash to the edge of the water. So if it's not perfect, it's not going to be the end of the world. It'll look great. So I'm just going to take a little bit of just the teal color and darken the back edge. And just smooth it out. Now I'm going to give it a hair dry and we can go on to the sand. Okay, I'm back. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the straight color to the horizon, to the back part. And then I'm going to grab just the straight blue over top of this, as I found I lost some of the blue, and allow it to mix a little. Give it a little streak along that edge, and I think that'll be good. And then I'm just gonna put a little bit of white on my brush and give it a few little streaks to make it look like there's distant waves. And that's all I'm gonna do, because we're gonna add white on the edge for the surf, but we'll do that later. Okay, so we'll take off the tape. Yeah, a little tiny bit of bleed in there. I can fix that with the blue and the white for the sky. Or you can leave it if it's not bothering you, if it's no big deal. I'm just going to wet my brush. I'm getting a 1 inch or a size 11 medium brush. It's just flatter and it gives me more control for that edge. So I'm going to get just a really light amount, and I'm going to turn this side upside down because I have more control, and I'm just laying it up against the water where it bled and just giving it a little touch up. Nothing major. Get some more paint. Just see how I'm dragging it along. I just put it up against the line and drag it. And just a light touch, and it's easy to fix. I see a spot there where the tape took the paint off. Again, not a problem. I'll just mix a little bit of paint. And every time you mix, it's going to be different. Not to panic. It just gives variation into the sky. I'm going to wet my brush just a little bit so that it goes. And you'll see how it, when I wet the brush, it kind of goes watery. That's okay, because all it is just spreading out that paint really thin. It'll help it blend into the sky a bit, so it's not so drastic a change. And I'll add a little bit more blue to it, and then just press hard. See, I'm pressing really hard just so that it gets, oh, I like that blue streak there. And I would say that that's good enough. Maybe just mess with it just a little bit. Maybe just a little bit of streaky blue in that background, so it's not so harsh. Looks like the sea is a little rough. And see how when you drag the brush sideways it makes a line, which is like a perfect wave. When you're not making big waves, you're just making ripples. There. Okay, so we're going to do the sand next. And we're just going to use Toll paint due to the fact that I'm running out of acrylic paints, like I'm sure everybody is. So whatever colors you have and you can use, just go ahead and use. I'm going to use the Folk Art Linen and Vintage White, and I'm going to add a tiny bit of burnt umber to it just to get the dark parts. Now put this on my palette. And again, if you don't have these colors, you can take white, mix brown in it to get a tan color. Mix a little white in some brown to get a medium color. Just the more white you add, the lighter it'll get. And then that way you can just slowly adjust so you got a dark, a medium, and a light. Oh, can't get the cover off. Old arthritic fingers. Okay. So I'm going to dry that just to make sure it's good and dry before I put tape on it. Hang on a sec. And we're back. Okay. Remember I told you something fell off the paint? I just want to show you something. Look at this cap. I don't know if you can see it good. It is all deteriorated and crumbly, and it fell apart. This paint is a easy 15 years old. I keep them stored like this so no air gets in, and they last forever and a day. And see how it's all falling apart on the canvas here. So I'm just going to put a piece of tape over it to hold it in one piece. But I'm eventually going to have to find another cap from an empty bottle to replace it, because it is seen its day. It's done. But this will stop it from crumbling all over everywhere and keep it nice, help keep it airtight. And I can just take the cap off and pour it rather than squeeze it out the little hole. And a good idea too is store them upside down, paint the bottom with the paint, a good 2-3 coats, and when it dries you have a really accurate color dot rather than the color dot that's on top of them, which isn't very accurate. And when you're looking for paint, you can see the color and you know what you've got and what you want. Okay, enough for those hints. Let's get the stuff off the board here and put a piece of tape over the water. And again, I'm just going to hit it on the edges, try to keep it nice and straight. Anywhere I miss, I'll be able to put white for the splash, so it'll look fine anyway. So wet your brush, scrape it off the bottle or the jar or whatever it is you're working with. Take your medium color, which is your linen, and we're going to base coat with linen, and then we're going to just streak in the light and the dark. So we're going to base coat the linen, and see, they're really transparent. Sometimes it's good to gesso these canvases because they're not the greatest, but I just didn't bother this time because some people don't have gesso, so I want you to know it's possible to do it without gesso in it. It just takes another extra coat or so. So I'm going to put the light, and then I'm going to, or the medium, and then I'm going to add a little bit of white, and I'm just going to go sort of hilly. And then I'm going to add, and all I'm doing is just tipping the edge of my brush and beating it, because I don't want a whole lot, right? And that's just going to give us some shadow on our sand. And I'm just going to go in a wishy-washy, kind of lumpy. And right now it looks a little weird, but it will look fine when you're ready to go. So I'm going to dry that, and we'll have a peek and see what it looks like. And we can always adjust it after we get the houses on, and if we find that it's not what we want or it's not dark enough, I think I might just darken the edge there a little bit. There. Okay. I'm going to dry it, and I'm not going to turn you off this time. Hopefully it's not too loud. I'll turn it down and I'll just give it a quick hair dry. You can see when it dries the shine goes off of it. It's better to dry on a low heat so that it doesn't change the color of your paint or it doesn't overheat it. And we're definitely going to need a second coat because I can see blue where I got it on the sand there. And that's dry. It doesn't take long for it to dry. Get my shaggy brush. This poor old brush has been through the war. As you can see, it's a little rugged, but it's perfect for base coating. You never throw a brush away. Always can find use for it. So I'm going back in with my medium color just to get better coverage so that I don't see the canvas and that blue. And then I'm going to streak in some of the light. And again, it's hard to paint on this angle. I'm used to turning or holding the canvas up or putting it on an easel, but we're flat on the table and I'm trying to do it so that you can see it good. So we'll work with it. So I've got my light, and then I'm going to tap into the dark brown and add some dark brown here just so that we've got some shadow in the sand and some wishy-washy sand. Oh, I just wanted a little darker in the front here. I got a bit much, but I'll just work it out. Blend it in and maybe just go across it really lightly, and I'm just a feather touch. It's just to take out any harsh lines or just smooth it out, make it look more sandy. That looks good for me. It's going to be fine. Okay, so I'm going to dry it. We'll remove the tape, and then we're going to add the pattern and get painting those buildings. One moment. Okay, so we'll just remove the tape. And of course it removed some of the paint underneath because it just has to be obstinate. So I'll just take a little bit of the blue and the green and some white, keeping it fairly dark, and just give it a bit of a touch up in spots. I'm not worried about anything major. I think it just gives more interest to the ocean. And that's all I'm going to do. I'll just touch up those spots, and I think it looks pretty good. If you want, you're not happy with the coverage, you can always do another coat from the top to the bottom. You can put as many coats as you want to make it look as good as you want, and until you get a happy spot where you like what it looks like. Okay. I'll make sure it's good and dry. So I'm going to line up the pattern so it's lined up to the right hand corner on the 12 by, I think it's 12 by 16. Oh, 9 by 12, sorry, 9 by 12. Pardon me. And I'm just going to put some tape down here. And I have transfer paper, waxy side down. If you don't have transfer paper, you can color the back of the page with graphite, and that will help you to get it, when you transfer it, it'll transfer the graphite onto your painting. So I have a straight, this thing is worth its weight in gold. You know you got a straight line. So let me see, I already have my lines for my, just one second. Pardon me. Dry throat. Okay, so you're just going to go along and you're going to trace your lines. And you don't have to press really hard. Actually, the lighter you press, the better, so you're not trying to cover it. Any mistakes you see or wonky lines, you can replace or fix. And there you go. I'm not going to tape me drawing the whole thing. It's just boring. I'll be right back when it's done. Okay, here we are. Okay, so don't be stupid like me. Just trace the outline. Don't trace all the details. Because I'm going to paint it white first so that the colors are be brighter and show up more. So, rather than use white, I'm going to use the sand color. I'm going to wet my brush and get some of the white or the sand color. And I'm just going to base coat in the entire house. And if I have a flat brush, which makes it so much easier to get to the edges, and you just put it down and drag it away from the edge and go right over the details, because you're going to have to put them on again. Hopefully you hadn't started yours, and you won't have to do what I have to do and put it on again, because I wasn't thinking. And it's no big deal. It's not something that takes a whole lot of time. It's not that precious. It just makes the colors show up better if you do them on a white than on that dark blue. The dark blue hides the colors and they don't show up great. So I'm just going to base coat the legs and the deck there. and then put a little bit of a heavier coat, a second coat. So that it makes it easier. Try not to leave ridges in your paint, just smooth them out so that you don't have lumps to deal with. That'll be good enough. This is going to be black, so it won't matter. Anything that's going to be black doesn't really need to be coated in white, because the black is going to cover, whereas the other colors won't cover as well. So we'll just continue on. Everything in the white, or the off-white, the sand color. And just try to go straight. As you can see, I didn't go straight there. No big deal. And just straighten it out a little bit. When you press down, your brush will flare out, so try not to, after you put your brush down, try not to flare it out, because it'll obviously, that's what I did, and I changed the line. So just a light touch. And smooth it out a bit. And the next house. And wet your brush every now and then, because it gets thick quick. Under these lights, it dries really fast. You might not have that same problem at home. So I hope everybody has been well and you're enjoying the tutorials. Hopefully they're not too boring and poorly done. I'm hoping to improve with time. And continue to add different things. If anybody has any ideas of what they'd like to paint, this reference came from Pixabay, by the way. I forget who the photographer was, but it can be found on Pixabay. I will try to remember to add a link to it, to the color picture. Mine's not exactly alike. I used my artistic license and changed what I wanted to change. And you're quite welcome to do the same. That's the thing about being art, or doing art, is you can do it whatever way suits you. And that's the fun part. Give it a taste or a flavor of your own style. I find it awkward to paint this way, so I'm used to turning it everywhere. So hopefully this turning it all around and upside down isn't freaking you out. It just makes it easier to get a good line. And this is our little fence where we're putting our flowers. And as you can see, I'm not overly particular. It doesn't really need to be perfect, as when we put the colors on, it's going to hide the underneath anyway. As long as I don't have any big ridges, which will show up in the finished product. And maybe wet my brush again, get a little bit of paint, and go over those dark spots where it's really dark. Just so that it's easier to cover. Lighter colors tend to be transparent, so if we didn't put this white on first, we would probably have to put like 4 or 5 coats as compared to maybe 2 or 3. It just saves a little bit, I guess. And as far as these houses go, I did them in whatever colors I could find. If you have red, yellow, and blue, and white and black, you can mix any color at all. So, like, don't worry if you don't have the exact colors. Mine are not even going to be exact in this one, because it changes every time you paint it. You'll never mix it the exact same way again. Just about impossible, I guess, unless you measure, and I can't be bothered to measure. I just embrace the change, if that's what it is. And there. I may as well give it a bit of, now see the paint start to lift there? It's because it's drying. So I just touch it, feather touch, if it's not quite dry when you put a second coat. Better yet, dry it in between coats. I just know what I can get away with. And if I use a light touch, then I can get it a heavier coat. And then I'm going to use a little tiny detail liner brush. I got these on Wish, 10 for $3. An amazing buy. They work amazingly. And I'm just going to put lines and let the background, like, leave a little gap in between, and then the background will give it that shaded look, and it looks amazing without even putting all kinds of work into it. Oh, I got that one a little thick. It's a homemade chair. And we can always go in and add some of the darker brown in between if you can't see your lines, or if you got them too close, you can use a Sharpie or you know, a marker to put a line down to make them look like they've got a line. I'm just giving them a second coat here. And I think that looks pretty good. Okay, I'm going to dry that, and then we'll start mixing colors to, oh, maybe I should do the birds first before I leave. Flare out his tail a little bit. rugged looking bird. Pardon me. And I just go across with a feather touch to even out any ridges. These little brushes are just awesome. I ordered a whole lot when I ordered this, and it's like a script liner. It's a longer bristle. You can get them short, you can get them long, but they're on Wish. And like I say, they're 10 for 3 something. Sometimes the price changes a little bit here and there, but nothing drastic. Under $5 anyway. And well worth the price. And the wait. Although you gotta wait forever to get them. Okay, hang on a second. I'll give this a dry. Okay, we're back. Just zoom in just a little bit. Okay, let's see what we can do from here. I'm going to put a piece of tape to remind me where my frame is, so that I don't go out of frame. Okay, so the first one we're going to do is the yellow, and then we'll do the red, the teal, then the orangey one, and the purple one. So for the yellow, I just need to get some paint. Just 1 second here. I forgot the yellow paint. Okay, so I got some yellow paint, got a new plate, just dollar store plate again. You gotta love dollar store. I put some yellow out. Sometimes it's good just to give a quick spritz to your plate and on top of your paint. Stops them from drying out. Gives you a little water in your brush when you need it. Okay, so we're going to do this first one yellow. And so we're just going to paint the yellow on. I'm going to not bother to go up into the roof line where I went before because I wasn't paying attention. And this is cadmium yellow if anybody's interested. It's just a nice bright yellow and the huge. Okay, sorry about that. I forgot to delete my previous pictures and videos and ran out of space. Okay, so we're just using cadmium yellow and we're just base coating in the first house. And just going over it so that it's got a second coat, sort of. Looks good. Clean your brush. Next house is red. And I'm going to use the cadmium red medium hue. These are golden colors. They're professional acrylics, but you don't need to use that. We've already shown toll paint works just as good, and it's a lot more economical. And let's get some of the cadmium red. And the next house, and this another really, the cadmium colors are really strong and bright. They make beautiful colors. And of course this one's going to be a little bit of a wonky house by the looks of it. I'm not going to paint the steps as they're going to be light anyway. I'm just going to try to go straighten out that line. Okay, let that dry. Smooth out any ridges I have. Ridges are the worst thing that can happen, and they're not irreplaceable. Just a damp brush takes out the ridge. Clean your brush. And the next house is our teal colored house. I'm going to just use this one this time. It's an aqua color, Craft Smart Toll Paint. I just think it's really pretty. And you can see the difference in this as compared to the cadmium colors. This is more of a transparent color. You can add white to it to make it less transparent. Again, it will lighten the color and change it. Or you can just add extra couple coats, which is what I'm going to do because I really like that teal. And I think the steps on this side, the house on this side goes down to the ground. About there. And so the next house is an orangey color. You can mix red and yellow. Whatever you have. I have some Indian yellow. That's what I'm going to use. Sort of an orangey. It's a bright orangey, yellowy color. Move that out of the way. It's really pretty. And then I'll just add I'll add white to it, and this one's quite transparent as well. So it doesn't matter if it's just cheap toll paint or expensive paint. Some colors are just more transparent than others. And that's not a big deal. It's just a matter of smoothing it out so you don't get any ridge lines. Now you want to go over the fence here because it shows, well, I guess it doesn't show in between the stakes. So I guess you didn't have to go over the fence there. I'm just going to turn it around so I can get another angle to get that edge straight. And that's definitely going to require a second coat too. And the last house is purple. So we're just going to mix some red and blue together. Oh, what have I got here? I'll get my blue. The blue we did the sky in. You don't need much, just put a little. You really should try not to use your brush to mix colors because it eventually wrecks your brush. And that one has such a straight, nice edge. I don't want to ruin it. So I'm going to use a palette knife. You can use a plastic knife. Works good. And there's our red and blue together, which makes a purple. And that's more of a red purple. If you want a more of a darker purple, you can add more blue. And you get a bluer purple. I'm just adding a little at a time so I don't go too far. Let's add some of this sand color to it and see what color it is. Oh, it's kind of a wine. Lilac-y. And that'll do for the last house. And that's good. Dripped water on my picture. Try not to do that, it leaves a mark. So you're just going to base coat the house. And of course I went out the lines a little, so nothing major, no one's going to see it. And because it's a mixed color, it's not as transparent. It fills in easier. It's not as see-through. So you can get a good coverage the first coat, and it's probably the only coat I'm going to need. I hope you guys are enjoying these paintings. I know it's not easy to be home, stuck in the house, away from your friends and family. It's definitely trying times, but we've been through lots of things in the world and in life, and I know we will get through this. It's just going to be not yesterday or tomorrow, but soon. And you may as well find something that gives you some peace and a little bit of comfort. It takes your mind off the daily grind. I've been painting since probably the 80s, the early 80s. I've always had an interest in art from the time I was young. Wanted to be a major artist. I remember asking my dad to send me to art college in Boston when I was only like 13. Of course, he took and let me know that that wasn't going to happen. So I basically crafted and painted all my life with my kids. Now I paint with my grandchildren, and I enjoy it very much. It's my definite comfort zone. Gets me out of the here and now and helps me to find a quiet space for my head. And I hope you all are doing good and nobody's sick. You're all safe, and remember, if you've got red, yellow, blue, and white and black, there isn't anything you can't paint. It's just a matter of mixing the colors to get the color you want. It takes a little practice. It's not hard to do. You can get a color wheel online. You can just testing to see if that's dry enough. You can get a color wheel online. There's all kinds of amazing artists out there that have YouTube videos that teach you about mix and paint. I could do one if you want me to. But, you know, why reinvent the wheel? There's some people out there that do an amazing job at explaining the color wheel and how to mix your colors. And just a question, if anyone's interested in doing a watercolor with me, I'm new to watercolor, so I'm not a big professional, and I do oils as well. Again, I haven't done oils in 20 years, but it would be fun, and I'm not afraid to fail. Happens to all of us. The thing of it is, when you do something you don't like and it doesn't turn out good, just take it as experience, repaint it again. I'll paint over this canvas again and reuse it. That way I don't have to worry about trying to get supply when everything is closed, shut down, and supplies are scarce. You can also paint on cardboard. You can paint on just about anything. I've got an old clipboard. I'm going to paint a bird on it probably, something like that. And it'll be a little decorative piece that'll be still handy and I can use, and it's something I have around the house. An old board you can find around, the back of a piece of paneling, whatever. You know, there's 100 ways we can find things to paint. I'm just going to give this a dry so I can give it another finish coat, and then we'll be ready to do details. One moment. Okay, so we got that dried. I'm just going to add a little bit more paint to a couple of the real see-through ones. So they're not so bright. So you can't see through them. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is when I dry it, I'm going to add the details back on the house, on the houses, so that can save time, because that's just boring. If I had to, and then you won't have to go through that whole waiting for an hour for me to put, well, not an hour, but waiting for me to put the drawing on. So I'll just, you all know how to trace. Anybody's got questions, please, reach out. I definitely will answer every one of them. I so appreciate you coming and seeing these videos. Gives me something to do. I've actually felt so much better just being focused and learning new things and learning to video and try to make it comprehensive so you can understand it and it's not all jumbled, because trust me, I'm so new to this, it's scary. And eventually I'll be able to do live. I just haven't worked up my courage yet to do live. But I will, I promise I'll get to being more comfortable and able to do a live video with you. And I look forward to that. I will definitely keep posting. Like and subscribe. Click that button so you know when I add a picture or a painting. I didn't add one last week. I kind of had a funky week. Or I just couldn't seem to get anything together and get organized. I guess everybody's going through that right now. Trying to keep everything together and some normalcy in life. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow to that first one. It doesn't look like it's coated very good. And it looks a little wonky on the side here. So I'm just going to straighten it up a bit. See the difference on the edge of that where I'm painting over the blue and it doesn't cover very good. That's the reason we painted it the off-white, just to give us a better background, better coverage. I'm just going to put a little bit of paint on the tip of my brush and try to cover that in there. It doesn't matter, everybody, no one's going to get that close. And if they get that close, then they must really like your painting. Okay, let me dry that. And then put the pattern on and we'll be ready to paint the details. Okay, so we're back. All right, let's get this going. My lines got really heavy on this orange one, but we won't worry about it. We'll work around it. And let's paint this one. So we're going to put a red door. So I'm just going to get some red paint and paint the door red. And these flat brushes are amazing. And because I really like the seagull, I added him to the ground. I just moved the tracing paper and traced him again. Okay, so we want to do inside the windows. What I didn't do on the picture is I left the windows, I painted them white. They don't look as great. They should be a light blue so that it reflects the sky. So I'm going to just take a little bit of blue, add some of the sand color. It's got a little bit of this and that mixed in apparently. A little purple. Yeah, just so that the windows aren't stark white, just so that they look like they reflect the sky a bit. And we'll just paint them in. And I will paint in the rest of them on the other houses. And of course I get it crooked. We can straighten it up with the border around it. I just think it looks a little better with the bluish tinge to it than just stark white. Okay, I'll change brushes here to my little one. Hopefully you guys can find a small brush to do the details with, and you won't have an issue getting them done. A little bit of water. And just paint them in as neat as you can. If they're not totally perfect, don't worry about it. They're little beach shacks. They're not the Taj Mahal. So if they're not perfect, it won't matter. And they're going to have flower pots and different things, so you won't see all kinds of difference in them. Just lightly touching so that they don't leave lines. They might need a second coat. Depends on how fussy you are. In the little porthole window. And if you've noticed, the toll paints they dry flat. They don't have a sheen, but the professional acrylics have a shine to them. Now, that's distracting, but you won't notice it if you varathane. It'll all be the same sheen. So you don't have that glaring difference of some shiny and some flat. If you just put a little coat of varathane on top. Just lighten this one up a little bit. I found it a little too blue. And that red shows through it pretty good. So we'll probably have to do another coat when it dries. Excuse me. Another coat of red. just so that it's less transparent. And this is the way I usually paint. I will try to use one color wherever I can, and then move on to another color. Let's do the black on the roofs. Again, that's just black Crafters acrylic paint from the dollar store. I'm hoping you guys can find supply and you don't have a hard time getting what you need so that you can paint along. And as you can see, the black makes a huge difference. It just pops everything right out. I'm going to put black around this window. If you're having problems getting your paintbrush to a point, add paint, roll the brush, and drag it, and it gives you a nice strong point. It gets you a little more control on your lines. And it's easier to pull the brush towards yourself. You have more control. You're not as shaky when you pull it towards yourself. And I've decided I'm going to do the outline of this door black, where I didn't on the other one. Just a faint line there, a little doorknob. Let's paint that little bird. I'm not going to do him plain white. I'm going to use the light sand color. And clean my brush, get some black and do his wing. May as well do the other one on the bottom. They don't have to be major perfect. Again, it's a folk art painting. It's just a little whimsical. Oh, I love that seagull on the ground. In case you haven't noticed, I love seagulls. Nature's garbage men. Okay, and a little bit of that off sand color. And we'll do the railings. And of course I went over a little bit. Just rub your finger through it. And they're a little crooked, but it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to worry about it. Gives them character. And then again, you're going to do the same light sand color, off-white, on the stairs. You can leave a little bit of yellow behind, in between the bars, and it'll give the look of the risers, or paint it. You can paint them in a different color. You can paint them in black or whatever. And recoat that seagull with a second coat. And recoat the other seagull. This one looks better. It's got more of a distinct head, not such of a blobby head. This one just keeps getting fatter and fatter. I'm probably going to need a second coat on that railing, but I'm going to let it dry and do it after. So put a bar down the side of the house just to finish it off. Cute. You could even put some curtains. It's just a light touch. I think spectacular. And if you messed up your black line, you can go back in and just touch up, whoop, shaky. Just touch up your black line a little bit. There. Okay. So, let's move on with the black to the next house. This is supposed to be a rooster. He's an odd looking rooster. Rooster weather vane. We'll give him a big tail. Get rid of this ruler. I'm barely touching so that I get a fine line. I've decided I'm not going to bother to recoat this window. We'll make it look different. It'll be fine. And this one's got the little peaks over the window. It's going to have little flower boxes. I think I'm going to paint the door black rather than the white. I think the black will look nicer. This is what I mean by you can change your mind and paint any color you want. It doesn't really matter. And you want to do your stairs. I'll go back in and put a line in between them so that it looks like there's two steps and not just one big blobby one. And another coat on these ones, just so that they don't look so pale. And it hides those black lines that we had going there, which got a little bit heavy. Put a few lines on my curtains, just so they show up more. I think this house will probably have a fence. I got a bit too much water in that. Just dab it off on a towel. I decided to make the top stair as wide as the house, and the second stair I'll make it a little wider. On the second coat. So let's just go on to this house, and I'm just going to add a little bit of the teal and a little bit of black just to darken it, so that hopefully you can see that. Just enough to make it a darker teal than that so that it shows up. Roll your brush, drag it out, turn it sideways here. These are supposed to be just lines for the siding. They don't have to be perfect. Mine sure aren't going to be. So our main picture has a bit of a white line under the roof. So we'll put a white line. And I guess this was white, but we'll just make it above it. And down the side of the house you got your white trim board. And if I was a carpenter, this is how shaky it would be. find your white railing. I think this is my favorite house. And we've got stairs that come to there. And I'm going to leave in that step. We'll fix up the step line in a minute here. Go over the white, or the off-white, so that it's a little stronger. And I did the anchor white, as I found it showed up better than it does if it's black. And all I did was make a little circle, line down. As you can see, it doesn't match the drawing much, but that don't matter. And then we've got our cute little buoy hanging off the side of the house. And we'll put a second coat on that after it's had a chance to dry, and add the trim. And maybe a white line around our porthole window. And a doorknob. I see I did the back of this in the darker blue on the main house, so I'll just fill it in here. Good opportunity to fix up the anchor. I'll just paint over the anchor and redo it. There. And under the step on the siding, it has the darker. And if we put a fine line in between these stairs, they look like individual stairs. I may as well do this one. Oh, a little bit of water in that brush will help. And that paint is really thick. Roll your brush, drag it out to a point. And there's your step. And obviously the steps need a little bit of a second coat so that they show up good. My paint too watery. I think I'll paint this window in this color just so it shows up better. And let's do our anchor again. Not as neat as the first time, but it'll do. And obviously the more times you give it a coat, the brighter your details will be. And if you're like me, the minute you go in to touch something up, you mess it up. No problem. The idea is to have fun and relax and enjoy yourself. Not to fuss and worry and stress, and we get enough of that in our regular life. So let's just have fun with this. We won't worry if the lines aren't perfect. We'll just paint it for the sake of what it is and enjoy it. Enjoy the satisfaction of doing something that we're not used to doing, or something that we love to do. I'm going to put white around the window. It's a little thick board. And a white window box instead of black like I had in the main one. We'll put the flowers on last. Yeah, definitely like the white better than the black. I'm thinking I might change this one to white instead of black. I'll just give it a shot and see what happens, see if I like it better. Yeah, that's a little better. I found it was too harsh with the black. And you noticed I'm not totally covering it. It sort of looks like a grayish, a little bit of a shadow, bulgy round window. It's all good. I don't know what happened. The camera shut off. Okay, a little yellow, a little red, get some orange, give him a beak and some orange feet. And as you can see, you don't even have to be particular because they're so tiny, you're not going to even notice that they're not perfect feet. Okay, so we're getting there. So this house, we're going to take the same Indian yellow that we painted the house with, but we're going to add white. So I'm going to take a little bit to the side. And we're going to add some of this light so that we get a lighter color. It's a little different than that one there. I might add just a touch of pink in it. That's probably way too much. Just enough pink to give it a little bit of a softer orange. Okay. And let's paint these stripes in this house. Try to cover those yucky black lines if you can. And if not, they'll only end up looking like shadows anyway. So it shouldn't be too bad. It's sort of a tangerine color. love this Indian yellow. It's such a pretty color. And it's so bright, great in fall scenes. And as you can see, I'm not being totally precise or whatever. I'm just putting it in, trying to cover the black line so it doesn't look so harsh. Oh, I like that. That's not bad at all. It's a little different than the other one, but on a whole, it's not bad. And as you can see, as you splay out your brush, the harder you push, the wider the line will get. All I'm doing is adding a second coat so that it is covered in more. And we're getting there. Almost done. Okay. I think I'll use this color with a little bit more red to make it orangier for the frame of the window, just to be different. A little bit of water from my palette here, from when I sprayed it. Roll it, drag it, get rid of the excess. It makes a nice fine point. Oh, might need a little bit more paint on it than that. It's sort of like a peachy. Yeah, that's not bad. And last but not least, that purpley fence. So red and blue. Make a darker purple. And we're going to give it some lines for the siding. It's not so in your face, this purple. Outline the windows. I might not have mixed enough. Turn it sideways here so I can follow this line. Guess we'll keep the door the off-white of the original. Maybe I'll outline the windows in white. I think it'll look better. this show up a little better. I must be getting tired because I can't keep a straight line. Okay. Oh, this one's got, I forgot it's got those feet on the bottom. Those, heavy feet to hold up the house. We'll give it a little bit of a step. I'll give this another little coat. Straighten off the bottom. Probably got too much water in that one. You don't have to be really precious with these. Whatever happens, happens. They're going to be adorable anyway. And every time you paint it, it's going to look different. So we'll go back to the black and do the roof on this one. Try to keep your hand out of the other one. I'm notorious for putting my hand in it. And the little bar that holds the buoy. I think I will paint this window box black. I think it showed up better. I'll put some flowers in it. It'll look cute. Okay, let's put, let me get some white here. All out of white. And just get some white to do this little lawn chair. Just so it sets it apart from the railing on that house. I might not have drawn the lawn chair very good perspective, but oh, too much water. This dollar store white isn't that great. It's one of the colors that doesn't really show up very good. Maybe some white on the seagull, so he doesn't look so yellow. And water drops on my picture. These seagulls keep getting bigger and bigger. There. What else do we got to do? Okay, we put some red stripes on our buoy. We're almost done. And take some of that orange we did for the trim on this house and just touch up their legs and beaks. And the beaks on these ones. And little feet. And we'll go back to the black. We're almost done. And we're going to add black tips to their wings. And give them a dot for their eye. You can also drag your brush through the black. Let me show you here. Let me clean my brush. Load it with black. Roll it out. Scuff it through a little bit of white. And if you make a few little seagulls in the distance, which kind of there, like little M's or little V's. Give it a little more birds. Never have too many seagulls. Do the roof on this house. And the weather vane of the little sailboat. And our last roof. No, do the flag a different color. I'm going to do it this purple mess that we mixed up. Too much water. Just blot it off. With a piece of paper towel probably work better than that rag. And just paint your little flag. I think this house here needs one of those little Victorian lightning rods. It's the little ball on the top. I don't know if that's how they look, but that looks cute to me. Okay. And a little bit of detail to our anchor so it stands out a little better. Coat to our step. Oh, and we forgot the little fence for the front of this house. And they don't have to be even on the bottom because we're going to put flowers there. And it'll hide it anyway. Okay. So we need a little bit of white foam. Let's get a scruffy brush. Let me see what I got. Something wore out. Well, I'll use this little filbert. And a little bit of white on it. And just tap in. Oh, it's not working that great. Hang on, we'll change brushes. This little round should do it. More of a there. And just straight up and down. And just tap on some foam, and you can add a little bit of foam in the water. If you don't think it's dark enough. Or you have enough contrast, I should say. You can always add some. It's just a little bit of foam. And maybe a streak or two in the water. Make it look like there's some waves out there crashing around. And if you stamp up and down, it gets it on even. And a little there. Maybe a bit of waves in the distance. You can always go over this and give it just a little bit more if you find you can't see it. There. So let's take, I need some more blue. So make some green. There it is. Actually, I have some green here. I'll use this one. Just a little bit of green. We're going to just tap in the green, load up that little scruffy brush. If you got a liner brush that's wore out, just chop it off and it makes a cute little stippler brush. And let's put some flowers. We'll put a bunch of flowers here. And I usually just go across the bottom on the angle. We'll put some tall strands in there after. Right now we're just stippling on where they're going to be. Just a little bit of stippling. Nothing major. They're just flowers. Let's put some flowers in the flower box. Oh, I think we have flowers in these ones too. And we'll just put some there. Have some dragging down. It's kind of hard to see it on there, but we'll add some light green and you'll be able to see it better. And then we're just going to put some bushes in front of this fence. And another bush here. Oh, got carried away with that bush. Rinse your brush. Take the same green, pardon me, put it off to the side. You can add a little white. You can add a little yellow and give you a nice leafy green. And you're just going to stipple it again in spots. Don't completely cover up what you've already put there, so that you have the contrast of the two colors. And then we're going to take our fine liner, get it wet, wipe off the excess, take some of this lighter green, roll it, maybe just a little bit of the darker in there with it. Roll it, make a point, and then we're just going to add some grass. And you just drag it through. It'll pick up some of the grass or some of the colors that are there. You can even drag it through yourself through the other brush. It's probably not dry enough. Just to get some different variation in the grass, so that when we put flowers on, it'll look kind of cute. Add a little bit of stippling in there so that it shows up a bit. And I hope you can see. Wet your brush, roll it and drag it to get a point. Make some grass. Just starting at the bottom and dragging it and going all different directions. Maybe you can see it better this way. I kind of went a little perfect there so that it kind of looks like a hedgehog. So just mess it up a bit. Once the flowers go in it, it'll look really good. Well, I'm just gonna dip my brush in 2 colors. I have some teal flowers. Whoops. And just dot on your flowers wherever you think they would look good. Different sizes. Doesn't really matter. They look nice. I'll get some of the Indian orange and put some there. And maybe just the dirty brush, just add some red